Hi, I'm going to be taking you through a step-by-step process on how to apply for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Before getting started, you want to make sure that you have a few pieces of information with you. You want to make sure that you have an email address that you can check frequently to create your account, and you'll also be receiving status updates of where your application is in the review process. You'll also need your landlord's information, including their name, address, phone number, and email. You'll need income information for everyone over the age of 18 living in the household. Regardless of whether they contribute to the rent, we will be reviewing their income to calculate the income for your household. If you're applying for the utility assistance portion of this application, you'll also need your most recent utility bills. You'll need a copy of identification. This can be a government-issued ID, driver's license, or passport, and you'll also need proof of residency. If your identification includes your current address, the address that you're applying for assistance for, you don't need extra proof of residency. However, if it does not include that on your identification, you'll want to provide proof of residency by uploading a utility bill, cancel check with your address, a pay stub, or any other documentation that has your current address. So let me show you the application. So when you click on the link, this is the page you'll be taken to. If it's your first time visiting, you want to make sure that you click on register. This will allow you to set up your account. You'll enter your first and last name, your email. You'll choose a password and you'll check "I'm not a robot" and create account. But because I already have an account, I'm going to choose to log in. Again, you'll need your email address to come back to the site and log in, and your password. Because I have no current applications, you'll see this notice that I have no applications, so I'll want to click on View Programs. The program that you'll be applying for is CPC Emergency Rent and Utility Assistance Program. So you can click More to open that. This first page is really important to read through before you start your application. It goes into different eligibility requirements, different pieces of information that you'll have to include in your application. You'll also note at the bottom that you can check your email regularly because you'll be receiving updates about your application status via email. And just as a note, the agency will have limited capacity to answer phone calls or emails for inquiries regarding your application status. It is advised that you'll want to check your email regularly for those status updates, or you can log back into this portal and review your application status here. So when you're ready to apply, you can click that Apply button, and you'll be brought to the first page of the application. This is really kind of the home page of the application, and you'll see a couple different things here. You'll notice and be able to see that you have a tasks complete bar. Because we haven't started any of those tasks for the application, it's empty and it says I have 0 tasks completed. You'll also take note of this collaborator piece. You can add a collaborator to this application. A collaborator is someone who you'll want to view your application, receive status updates, log in to check status of your application. They can assist you with walking you through the application, but they cannot complete the application for you. So if you do want to add a collaborator, you'll click that button and you'll have to enter an email address for that collaborator. A collaborator could be a family member, a relative helping you with this application. It could be a caseworker with an agency you're affiliated with, whomever you want. But we do advise that you check this view only box so they cannot go in and edit your application on your behalf. You should be the one editing your application. You have the option to send a message to them, and when you're ready, you can send invite. But adding a collaborator is not necessary, so I'm not going to do it here. And then the final thing you'll see are your tasks, which are the 5 pieces of information that you'll have to go through in order to complete your application. You must go through them in order. And you'll notice that there are circles next to each task. They're empty now because we haven't started one, but once you start a task, they'll be filled in halfway with a green half circle. And when they're completed, they'll be fully green with a check mark. So we will start this task. The first task is eligibility to apply for the program. You'll notice at the top, you'll see task instructions. This will walk you through each task. Every task has different instructions, so every time you move on to a new task, you'll want to make sure to read through those. So for eligibility, you have to answer a couple of different questions. The first is, have you been economically impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic? This is a loss or reduction in income or increased household expenses. If you have, you can click yes and move on to the next question. Are you currently behind, or do you anticipate falling behind on your rent or utilities? If you're currently behind, you can go ahead and click yes. If you're not behind yet, but you know you won't be able to pay your upcoming months for rent and utilities, you can also click yes. The next question is, do you own or rent your home? This program is only for renters. Unfortunately, this funding does not assist homeowners. So if you are a renter and you're applying, you can click that. And are you currently residing in York County? Community Progress Council's program can only assist York County residents. So if you're not a York County resident, you want to view the My Compass website, and you can find out where in your county you can apply for assistance. And then once you finish this page, you can click next. Now you'll go through and indicate how you are impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. You can check all that apply to your household. So those options are loss of employment, reduction of work hours, illness related to COVID-19 or caring for someone with COVID-19, childcare or school closures, and an increased out-of-pocket expenses, compliance with a recommendation from a government health authority to stay home, self-quarantine, or avoid congregating, increased expenses such as utility, medical expenses, food, and childcare, reduction of self-employment, or if you are impacted in some other way, you can check other and specify in the box. So for this example, I'm going to choose loss of employment and illness related to COVID-19. Because there are no more pages in this task or this portion of the application, it's going to ask that you mark as complete to move forward. So you can mark as complete, and you'll be brought to a review page. At the end of each task, You'll want to make sure you review that page and all your answers look correct to you. If they're not correct, notice you can't click on it. But what you can do is come to this clickable 3 dots and you can click edit. You'll want to make sure you click edit because if you click reset, it will erase all your answers. So make sure you are clicking that edit button. In order to move on to the next task, you can come over here to this left column. Again, notice that because we completed this section, we have a green circle with a check mark, and we're ready to move to the next task. And you can go ahead and click that. Again, at the top, there are the task instructions for this task or section of the application. We are going to be looking at household information and income in this section. It's important to note that demographic information requested is for program reporting purposes only and will not be used to determine eligibility for assistance. And some of the demographic questions you can opt out of answering. So you'll want to choose who the head of your household is and enter them here. All this information will be the head of household's information. And you can enter their birth date here. You'll want to make sure you use the month, day, and year with slashes in between. You'll need to enter last 4 digits of a social security number. If you do not have a social security number, you can use the month and day of birthday as well. So for example, if your birthday is 01/12/1985, you can enter 01/12. So for this example, I'll enter that. You'll next be asked to enter total number in household. Remember, this includes the head of household, the first person being filled out. So if you have 4 total people living in a household, you'll want to pick 4. The options go all the way up to 9. For this example, I'm going to click 2. For head of household, you'll move on to some demographic questions. You'll want to enter gender, race, disability status, and ethnicity. It's also asking for information on health insurance. Your options here are uninsured, commercial marketplace, military health care, Medicare, Medicaid, other or unknown, CHIP, and employment-based. For this example, I'll click one of those, and then you'll be asked to fill in your address. So you'll want to make sure that you enter your correct address for which you're applying. And you'll also be asked to enter a phone number. You'll want to make sure that you enter your phone number using dashes between each section of the phone number. So after the area code. And you can also choose whether this is a home or mobile phone. If you do choose mobile, it will ask if we can text you. You don't have to say yes to this. If you do say yes, and we may need more information, it's sometimes easier if we can send a text maybe to schedule a call. That would be what that would be used for. Otherwise, don't feel like you have to say yes to that. You'll next be asked marital status for head of household. So your options are single, married, domestic partner, divorced, widowed, or separated. You'll also be asked for employment or training. So the options here are full-time, part-time, unemployed, not in labor force, unemployed short-term, less than 6 months, or unemployed long-term, more than 6 months, migrant seasonal worker, retired, unknown, or not reported, and self-employed. For this example, I'm just going to click part-time. You'll be asked if you are active military or if you're a veteran. You'll next be asked education level. This would be the highest grade level that you completed. So your options are 0 through 8, 9 through 12, high school grad, GED, 12 plus post-grad, or college grad. I'm going to hit high school grad. Then you move on to family type. This is kind of the makeup of your household. So your options are single person, one parent female-led, one parent male-led, two-parent household, 2 adults, no children, grandparent raising child, multi-generational household, unrelated adults with children, and unrelated adults, no children. I'm just going to click 2 adults, no children. You'll next be asked your housing status. You have rent, single family unit, multifamily unit, or single room occupancy, supportive permanent housing, temporary quarters such as a hotel or motel, or mobile lot rent. If none of these apply, you can click other and specify here. For this, I'm going to click rent. And then you do have the option of checking all that apply here for does your household receive any of the following non-cash benefits. It's important to know that none of these listed here will impact your household income. Your options are Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Women, Infants, and Children, WIC, Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, Section 8, Public Housing, Permanent Supportive Housing, HUD Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing, Child Care Voucher, or Affordable Care Act Subsidy. And if none apply to you, you can hit next. So I will click 2 and hit next. You'll next be brought to the pages for your additional household members. Each additional household member that you add will have their own information you'll have to add. So I added 1 additional household member, and I'm going to enter their information here. And again, entering a birth date, and asking for gender. They do ask relationship to head of household, and you'll have a drop down with several options. The options you can choose from are brother, child, father, foster child, foster parent, grandchild, grandparent, guardian, mother, other, partner, relative, spouse, sister, or roommate. So you can choose the one that best fits with your household member. You'll be asked ethnicity for this additional household member, race. You'll be asked whether or not they're currently in school. You'll be asked again their education level with the same options here. You'll be asked the same options for health insurance. You'll be asked if they're a veteran or disabled. And you'll be asked again for employment for that household member, and you can choose the best that applies to them. You'll also be asked, and this is really important, whether or not this individual is 18 years or older. If you choose yes, that they are 18 or older, they'll also be given an income table, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, that they can input their income information. If you say no and they're not over 18, that income table will not come up for them. So for this instance, I'm going to click yes because I want to show you what that looks like and hit next. This next section is informational, and it's really important that you read through this information carefully. Before entering your income, we want to show you the source of income. There are several different sources of income that you can provide information for. And it also gives you a list of different documentation you can use for each source of income. It's important to know that you'll not have to submit documentation with your income for the application, but you do need to be able to provide it if it's requested in the future. So after you read through this page, you can click next, and you'll be brought to the income section where you'll enter the income for all the household members over the age of 18. It's important to know here that you have the option between entering your income in an annual amount or a monthly amount. And this could be important if you experienced a reduction in income at the start of the pandemic. You may want to use annual income guide amounts. If you experience a reduction in income more recently, you may want to use monthly amounts. This choosing between annual and monthly will help you reflect more accurately your situation and what you still may be in need of. But for head of household, I'm going to click annual. And it does tell you above each table who you're entering that information for. So this myself I listed as the head of household, so this is my income table. And again, you can see all the sources of income that we're asking for, and then you'll be able to enter the amount next to it. So the different sources of income are income from employment, self-employment, Social Security, Supplemental Security Income or SSI, Social Security Disability or SSD, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families or TANF, pension, alimony, child support received, unemployment compensation, and this does not include the PUA, pandemic unemployment, interest from bank accounts and cash funds, rental property income, or other sources not listed above. So I'm going to enter income from employment, and again, this is annual income. So my full year from employment, I'm going to enter that here. And I'm also going to enter something under child support. Now I entered two numbers. I entered 10,000 and 5,000. And you'll notice here that it totals that below the table. You'll want to make sure that this annual amount looks correct to you. And once it is correct, you should sign certifying that this information above is correct and true. So you can sign here. If you're using a computer, you can use the mouse to sign. If you're using your phone or a tablet, you can use your finger on the touchpad to sign. There is a clear button if you need to erase that and redo it. And then you can move on to entering the next household member's income. So it also asks, does that household member, so in this case, the name is Fred, pay rent separately than the rest of the household? This is particularly important if you're a roommate or someone that splits the rent. If you check yes, it will allow you to enter that household member's amount of rent for which they pay. If you check no, you can move on. But for this example, I'm going to type in that this household member pays $500 a month. And then you'll be able to enter that household member's information. Again, you can see which person's name is listed here and enter their income. And now I'm going to show you what happens when you enter your monthly income. So you have the same income table with the same options. So now I'm going to enter monthly amounts. So I entered 500 under self-employment, and I'm going to enter 500 under alimony. So in total, 500 plus 500, that's 1,000. So what this does, even though you entered it monthly, it gives you your annual total here. So again, make sure that that looks correct to you and fix anything that's not correct. Now, when signing, it should be the person signing whose information it is. So in this example, the name is Fred. Fred should be the one to sign this and certify that the information provided here is accurate. So when Fred signs, we can move on. And because this is the last thing I need to enter for this section, I can mark as complete. It may take you a little bit longer if you have more household members over the age of 18 when you're going through the income. But because this is the last page, I don't have a next button, so I'll mark as complete. And again, it does give you that review page. So you want to make sure all your information you entered is correct. Once you know it's correct, you can move on to the next section. Remember coming over to the left-hand column and clicking that information. So now you'll be entering the information for rent and utilities. This is where you'll request the assistance for either rent or utilities or both. It's important to read this information, again, the task instructions. So it's important to know that when applying for rental assistance, the rental assistance funding can pay past due rent from March 13th, 2020 forward. Past due rent may not exceed 12 months. If there is available funding, additional assistance for prospective rent or forward rent may be considered after past due amounts are paid, provided that the total months of assistance provided does not exceed 12 months. And you may request additional months in 3-month increments. So let's say that you have been unable to pay your rent for 6 months. So the number of months that you'll request for past due rent is 6 months. However, if you know moving forward, you won't be able to pay rent for a little while, you can request forward months of rent. that as long as it does not go above 12 months requested total. So if you're requesting 6 months back, you can request 6 months forward. You'll just have to make sure it doesn't go over 12 months. For utility assistance, funding can assist with past due utility amounts beginning March 13th, 2020. No payments will be made on balances from prior to March 13th, 2020. And we can only pay past due balances for utilities. You cannot request forward months for utilities. So you'll come down here and you'll want to decide what you're applying for. So if you're applying for just rent, you can click rent, and the information for rental assistance will be brought up. If you're just applying for utility assistance, you can click utilities and that information will be brought up. Or if you want to apply for both, you can click both and all of that information will show up. So I'm going to leave it on both so I can show you what each section looks like. You'll start off by providing information for your landlord or property management company. So you can enter their name first here. You can enter their address. You'll enter their phone number. And then you'll enter their email. Then you'll move on to, again, you'll see the same notification about not exceeding 12 months of rent total. So this is where you request how many past months or how many future months of rent you're looking to claim. So for this example, for past due months, I'm going to enter 9 months. And for how many months of future rent are you looking to claim? I'm going to enter 1 month. You'll notice that the total number of months requested is here. It's 10, so we're good. It's not over 12. We can move on. And because I'm also asking for utility assistance, you'll go through each utility and decide whether or not you're requesting that utility. So you have the option to request assistance with your water, electric, gas, sewer, trash, and fuel oil. You'll also see in other utility bills section, you'll want to use this if any of you have combined utilities. So some utilities like water, sewer, trash are combined. You can put that combined bill here. So for this example, I'm going to say yes to water. And it'll ask for your provider's name. So that's the water company. And you'll type that in. You'll want to make sure that you have your account number. And then you'll enter your past due balance that you need paid. You'll want to make sure that this number matches the number on the bill that you're going to upload. So we'll say 600 here. You will have to provide your utility bill here. So you want to make sure that you have your most recent utility bill. And you can upload that by clicking upload file. And I'm going to enter the water bill. And now that's uploaded. You can delete it if you think you added the wrong one. I don't need electric, but I'm also going to request gas. So again, You enter the provider name, your account number, and your past due balance. And you'll want to make sure that you do have your most recent utility bill, and you can upload that again. And I'm going to say no to the rest of the utilities. It's important to note that you do have to check no. You can't leave that blank to move forward. You do have to check it no. And then you can mark this section as complete. This is an important section where you'll want to make sure that you go through and review that the number of months is correct that you need, and your water, your utility bills and utilities are uploaded correctly. You can view your upload and you can download it if you need to do that. And once you're ready to move on, you can come back over here and you'll want to click the next section, which is landlord certification and rent information. So this is where that landlord's email is going to be really important. This recommendation here, that might be a little bit confusing, but what that simply means is when you fill that information out, it's going to send your landlord an automated email. It'll have your name, and it's going to ask, we're asking that you include your address in the message box, so that will be included. And it'll let your landlord know that they can go ahead and fill out their portion of the application. And that'll be, again, sent right to their email. So you're going to click request a recommendation, and it's going to open this box. So you're going to add your landlord's information. You can add their email. And again, you'll want to make sure that you put your address here. And if you do want to write a message, you can. And then you're going to hit send request. You have to click, put in something for last name. And that message has automatically been sent to your landlord, and they will get that in their email. Once you finish that, you can mark it as complete. And you're free to move on to the next section. The next two sections are pretty easy. You are going to go and upload your ID and proof of residency. Again, it's important to read this task instruction. It talks about what kind of photo ID you can use. And it also talks about your proof of residency that's required. So you can hit attach file here. It'll pull up your box and you can go to the file that you want to upload. So I want to upload my proof of ID. And that's uploaded now. And for this example, I know my proof of ID does not include my accurate address. So you can hit attach file again, and you'll be able to upload your proof of residency. Remember, if your ID does not include the address of the housing unit for which you're requesting assistance, you have to provide that proof of residency. And then you can mark it as complete. And then you're ready to move on to the next section. So this is the last task or section of the application. It's important, again, read this top task instruction, but this information is consent and certification of the application. I'll go ahead and read it just so you know what's included and what you're consenting to. So for this first paragraph, it says, I verify I and the individual identified in this application and hereby authorize and request the disclosure of all information concerning my rent and/or utilities and any additional information involving eligibility. I give permission to Community Progress Council to discuss my case with my landlord, utility companies, employer, or project partners as needed to determine my eligibility. It is understood that the information obtained will be used only for the purposes directly related to the eligibility for Community Progress Council's rental and utility assistance programs. I verified the information included in this application is correct and complete. If you agree, you'll want to click consent. The next section says, I certify that all information that has been entered is true under penalty of perjury. I understand and agree that I am responsible for any fraudulent statements made on this application. I agree to provide, upon request, any additional documentation required. Pay stubs, lease, recent bills, proof of employment or unemployment, etc., to aid in determining eligibility. Then you can click consent. And again, the head of household will want to sign here and certify that they agree that we can contact those individuals listed above just for eligibility purposes, and that you certify that this information is true to the best of your knowledge. So the head of household will sign, and you'll mark as complete. You can review, and you can see that all your tasks are complete. Every task has a check mark, your task bar is full, and now your submit button is green. So you'll want to submit, hit submit. Before you submit, if you want to do a final review of your application, it will bring up every answer that you entered, everything that you entered. You'll be able to view that. You'll also be able to download your application if you want that. And then you'll be able to submit your application. Once you hit submit, you'll get this notification saying your application has been submitted. You'll also get an email stating that you have submitted your application and your application will move on through the review process. I hope you found this helpful, and please feel free to visit our website and Facebook page if you need additional assistance or information for applying for this program. Thank you so much.